everyone? I'm Undrea King.
And I'm Andy Speed.
And welcome to the Wholesale Nation Podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, this is the podcast where we teach you everything you need to know about getting started in wholesaling. Also, we are the owners of Drayco Properties. So if you have properties that you're looking to move, just hit us up at offers@draycoproperties.com. And lastly, of course, we need your help. If you like what you hear today, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. With that said, let's get this party kicked off. Andy, what's been up?
I was living the dream, as always.
That's always a good thing.
I've actually got a review here. So we've had a few over the last week. This one comes from Joel. No fluff or hype content built by actual operators. If you're not listening to this one, you're missing out. So you guys are listening.
Good.
Appreciate you not missing out. But yeah, like Undrea said, if you could hit that 5-star review, leave us a comment. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it helps with the rankings and things like that. So we definitely appreciate it so we can get more content out. And then do we have any negative ones? You just want all the positive stuff.
Well, there's one 3-star. I mean, I really don't want any negative ones.
But they didn't say anything? They didn't?
Not to my knowledge.
Right. Good. So we don't have that many haters out there, so that's a good thing. But what's been going on with you?
Just the apartment stuff, really. Got our first one about to close, about to get another contract back. Mm-hmm. Spoke with the attorney this morning. Everything's looking good in the paperwork. He's going to advise his client to sign and send it back to us. Pretty excited about that stuff. About to kick off some land stuff as well.
Right.
And that's it. I mean, that's what's new. That's what's exciting.
So, people want to ask, so what do we do? What do we do in the business? What does Andy do and what does Undrea do? And
Undrea does a lot more than Andy, and I appreciate you for that.
We do, some separate things, right? So we have different gifts and different traits and all that good stuff. So we try to separate and conquer and divide, to where, I have more of a process mind and things like that. And so, almost like
you don't get bored.
Almost like I pop my
Did
collar.
Did you just pop it on there?
Yeah. It's like certain things just excite me, right? And so, on my side, I've been redefining our dispositions. Disposition is something that we've been talking about for the past 3 years, that we have the best dispositions and that we can sell, properties just about whatever at whatever clip,
right?
And that we spend money on marketing, for cash buyers and things like that. Right now we are doing that 100%, right? So we hired in a new dispositions. We have three dispositions working. Two are working out of town, and then of course we have one here in the Houston market.
Well, they're all physically in Houston.
Yeah,
they're not selling properties in Houston.
Right.
We got one that sells in Houston, one and two that sell everywhere else.
Right, they're selling everywhere else, and so. It was, the first part of that was, dividing, who's going to be doing what. But then we needed systems to be able to keep up with everything. We've never had to really just, keep up with buyer conversations and things like that in a system. We got that nailed down. We got a good process nailed down. So I'm excited about it. Right now we're buying in the Houston and Ohio market, and I'm excited now that we're getting ready to dial down and really focus in on some key areas in both of those areas, in both of those markets. I'm not going to give you the cities that we're going to be working, because we're going to see how it works, right? I don't know how many people listening. We give away all the tips. The tips.
You can have all the ticks. I want none of them.
We give away all the tips and tricks, but we want to get there and see if it works first, and then we'll give you the information.
Could you imagine? There's always that guy in the mastermind that gives the advice. Hey, here's this secret that I have, or something that I'm working on that I'm real excited about, and they hadn't even tested it yet.
Yeah, they haven't even
They're like,
done it.
does this work? I don't know.
Yeah, they don't even know if it works. So, I'm excited about that. I met with our team today, disposition team today, went over a little bit about, how I was picking those markets, how I came up with it, and then what we're going to be doing here going forward. So, they seem pretty excited about it also. So that, of course, we'll be hopefully here in the next 6 months, we'll be in 6 different markets doing the same thing. So pretty excited about it. Okay. But today I know we want to talk about, speaking of buying in different areas and talking to people,
in different personalities, right?
And different personalities, right? That's what we're going to be talking about today. Right. Know who you're talking to. Right. And which is a big part of sales. I know you've been doing a lot of role playing and things like that. But I know you've come across that also, where you're having people role play and they're just treating everyone the same.
Yeah, right? and you can't do that. So you are one person. Yes, we're very complex. We're not all the same, but you can basically break in as I don't know if it's Sean Terry that originated this, where this came from, the 4 different personality types. But if you can only close or sell one type of person, you're missing out on potentially 75% of the population. Mm-hmm. So you need to, in sales especially, you need to be considerate of who you're speaking with.
Right.
You know, we'll say oftentimes in our acquisitions meetings, it's not what you say, it's not how you say it, it's how the person perceives you saying it.
Yeah.
Or it's what they thought you meant. So yeah, I mean, if knowing in sales, you're a psychologist. I mean, you have to have a high emotional intelligence. You have to know who you're speaking to, how to communicate with them. You know, if it's like something as simple as, I know not to text you, right? If I want to communicate with you, if I want you to respond, I have to communicate by Slack alone, really, or phone call.
Slack or phone call.
I can't email you and I can't text you because you'll never respond. You'll never see it. Like
So you know why I don't respond?
Why is that?
Because I want the communication to come through one channel. And
I'm the same way. Like email. Like, man, I don't email me. If you want to talk to me, don't email me.
Right.
Send me a text or call me. Those are your 2 options.
And then, of course, my email has 89,000 emails in it.
Let's see. How many you got right now? You have 89,000?
On one. So I have 89,000. Let's see. On my emails, I have 89,000 on this one, and I have 46,000 on the other. So I have a little over 130,000 emails.
Wow. You know how many chain letters have probably stopped with you? I'm just kidding. So I have 280, and it's causing me anxiety.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's different types of people. So you need to communicate in their way, right? So you can get crazy with sales. And we've been doing this, 5 years, right? So almost 6. Jeez.
Yeah. And I got to say, this has been around for as long as I can remember. I know that, Sean was one of the ones I saw where he made it look pretty. But it's been something that's been around since the beginning of time, is how to reach your seller from across from you or over the phone now with us. But it, like you said, it's like the next step. The first thing is get out there and just talk to people, right? And then you start maximizing your conversions by getting to know the person and being able to read the person that you're selling, right?
Yeah.
Or that you're trying to sell your product to. Now with us is to be able to buy the property.
Or knowing what they need and how to communicate.
Yeah.
Right. So be conscious of that in all things. And when you go back, and we're huge advocates of going back and listening to your calls, record through CallRail, whatever other service. I'm sure you know a lot of them, but we use CallRail. But
I wouldn't use anything but CallRail.
Okay.
Right. So you can use Google Voice if your money, if let's say you're having some financial issues.
You
Google
can't.
Voice is free.
You can't with what I'm saying. You gotta. We need to record the call.
Yeah.
So you could, I guess, you go get a recording app or whatever. Kind of a pain in the ass to use. I've done that a few times.
Well, Google Voice will record. You just got to hit the star 4 or whatever it is, and it'll start recording.
See, I didn't know that. Okay, learn something new every day. But you do need to consider those. And the 4 personality types are driver, analytical, social, and social conscious.
Right.
So if you don't know what those are, we're gonna go through them and how to communicate with each. I think we should talk about go through each one.
Yeah.
Talk about how to communicate with each, and then maybe follow up with a few.
Yeah.
Okay. So that good for you?
Yeah, it works for me.
All right. So let's talk about driver.
So the driver, let's talk about who that person is, first of all, right? Typically this is going to be the person, just like the name says, they're the driver, right? They're going to be, very abrupt, right? They're also going to be very short with you, right?
They're going to be very direct.
Yeah, and very direct, right?
I think this is the easiest one to identify. Yeah. Would you agree?
I think it is, right? They're going to be loud in most cases. This is the person that you're talking to, and they're like, okay. They're trying to get you to the point.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, come on.
It's like they don't have any time to waste, right? They're trying to move on. So, and that's the thing I like about the driver, because the other ones you're kind of like, what was that, right? I think it was analytical. I think it was a social conscious person, but I think the driver is waving a flag. Right. There's a reason why when you look at this one, it's the red color, because that's the one that shines. It's like because that's the one that you identify, first. Now,
is that because they're like holding their breath, waiting to talk?
Yeah, yeah. And the thing about this, the thing about this person is, if done correctly, this is actually the easiest one to close
100%.
because they'll make a decision, right? This is the one that can make a decision without a lot of input from other people. They don't have to have a lot of data to do it. A lot of times, this is also the person that's known to make a decision too quick. Right, they jump into it without even thinking about it. Right, but you got to know how to handle this particular person, because if you're calling this person, you're probably going to get hung up on, probably cussed out before that.
Could be.
Right. If you're going to an appointment with this person, you got to know how to handle them, because you're probably going to end up getting rushed along, and you end up missing a sale, or you get intimidated by them. Is what typically happens.
Which is horrible when you're talking to a driver.
Right.
You can always identify when a driver calls you and can be being a dick. I mean, I guess being a jerk. Excuse me.
Right.
So they're being a jerk, but really, if you just punch them right back in the face, they turn into teddy bears.
Right.
So it's like the whole prickly pear thing. Like on the outside, the rough exterior, and then you show them that you can hold your own ground and you're serious, et cetera, whatever they're challenging,
right.
And then they'll respect you for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they have to have some type of win.
It's
right?
a win, yeah.
Yeah, you can't just go in and think you're going to just crush a driver, because they feed off of the win. Like they got to feel like they
as long as they feel like they're
right.
winning, you can be kicking their butt as long as they feel like they're winning.
As long as they feel like they're winning, you're good, right?
Yeah.
So if not, then it's not going to go well, right? I don't see you being able to walk out with a driver feeling like they lost. It's just you're usually not going to get the deal.
No. You need to let a driver win.
Right.
Ultimately, and you need to make them feel like they won.
Yeah, it's the same thing I do in ping pong. All right.
Yeah, yeah. Other than he actually does lose at the end of the game.
Yeah. So if you didn't know, we do that sometimes on purpose.
Yeah. Okay. So then, so how would you're going to let a driver win? Mm-hmm. Anything else that you would do specific to a driver?
I think with a driver, I think you got to be very matter of fact and to the point.
Direct.
Yeah,
100%.
You have to get to it as quick as possible, because they're going to be like, come on, give me what do you want, and so I think that's probably the two things I would say. It would be that, right?
Yeah, all facts, no fluff. Let them win.
Yeah. If and they're easy to identify, because they're going to be if you're calling them and first phone call, you're going to know immediately, right? Doesn't matter whether it's male or female, you're going to know when you have a driver. Right. Yep. Because they're going to be very, like I said, they're going to be loud. They're going to be abrupt on the phone, and they may seem a little rude. But I think like Andy said, once you really get to know them, they're quite the opposite. Because we found out that the reason drivers are the way they are is because they're guarded. Right. And so you have to.
Are they guarded?
Yeah, they are.
Okay. I keep trying to transition this to, like, if y'all haven't noticed, I'm a driver.
Yeah.
But you just keep saying all these things. I don't know if I want to now. I'll be social conscious.
There you go. All
right. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about social conscious, because I am a driver. Right. I'm a driver, social conscious. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Very much so.
Okay. So you're definitely social conscious first. Mm-hmm. Social conscious first. Maybe. And then you're like a hodgepodge chameleon of everything else put together.
I'm a chameleon. I'm of everything.
It's like social conscious first, and then you've got analytical and social, like, tied, and then driver.
Right.
You do have some characteristics of a driver, except for you're incredibly patient.
Right.
Which is the opposite of a driver.
Right.
But let's talk social conscious now. Would you think that social conscious, I guess, is the slowest to make a decision, right? Mm-hmm. So social conscious, let's go through some characteristics. So they care about what's going on around them, right? They care about that. If you hear them talking about, like, the neighbors, the neighborhood, we've got they're not very assertive at all. Actually, they're not at all,
right?
But they are responsive, so they'll respond, but they're not going to push in any direction.
Right. So the social conscious person, if you're going on an appointment with this person, this is the person they care a lot about what's going to happen. They may care about what's going to happen to the house afterwards, right?
Yeah.
This means a lot to them. right? It's not so much about the numbers. So if you're trying to run numbers on this person, that may not be the thing that gets them, right? It's about what's going to happen with the house. It's got to be a good feeling for them. You got to have the a good feeling for them. They may have to pray about it because they want to have that, and they truly want to pray about it because they want to have that. This is the best decision for me. Now, one of the great things about the social conscience that I work very well with is that because I'm a good listener, right, I can usually guide those people and make them do what I want them to do, because a social conscious person will allow you to take them along for the ride if you're able to listen to them and feel that issue that they're having that's stopping them from making a decision. And you're going to find that in most cases, it's not going to have anything to do with the money, the house, or anything like that. It's going to be something that you got to dig deep to find that's going to keep that person from making.
You use the perfect word in closing a social conscious. That's guide. You do have to guide them. You have to be a patient. You have to be patient because they're going to take their time. They're going to do this on their time to make a decision. Right. It's challenging for a driver because you want results. Yeah. Them social conscious, you just got to love the process because it's going to be a process. They just have to trust you, feel like it's the right decision. They care about everything around them more so than their own well-being, et cetera. Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so important to know the difference in the personalities, because if you are a driver, then you need to know that I can't handle this person like this, right? If you are the person trying to, and that's different if you're someone's trying to sell you, but if you're trying to sell that person, then you can't come at them the same way you would come at yourself, right? So you have to really sit back and say, okay, I know I got to listen to this person, and then I have to kind of push them along to get the job done. Right.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely. The social conscience, they will make a decision. You just have to guide them. It's pretty simple.
Okay. Let's go social.
Okay. Social person is the person that I think you got to be very careful about. Right.
They will steal your day.
They will take your entire day. And what's so funny about it, even if you leave, you think, man, I killed it. I'm going to get this deal. It's just going to be like, I got it, right? Because a social person, they make you feel so good, and you're like, man, that was good, right? I feel really great about it. And then you realize that later on, that person just likes to talk, right? They just like to talk. That's the reason why they have that trait. That's the person that when you jump on the phone and it's like talking to your aunt or somebody. It's like you hadn't talked to somebody in a long time, and they start telling you about people you don't know, and that they're out drinking somewhere, and you're like, wow, this is going great.
You know what's funny? Early on, and I'd say this is probably as far as a year and a half into being full time in real estate. I used to just envision that their family quit listening to them. Like they're just like, I'd go on these appointments and they'd be telling me these stories and it just would never end.
Right.
I've had a 7-hour appointment. So guys, I've put in some time with some social people, and I would just think that I was going to get the deal because I was willing to listen to them banter on about just whatever the heck was on their mind at that moment.
Right.
And it's not that way.
Right.
You can close a social person, but it's much like a social conscious person, except for the opposite.
Yeah. So the way
they're impulsive.
Yeah, I think the way I put a social person is like, it's like you're reeling in something. You got to have a good rod and reel with this person, because every time they get off subject, you got to go there a little bit. Let the fish pull you a little bit, and then you got to reel them back in. Right.
Well, yeah, but that's actually a great analogy. But it's just as quick as they can get off topic, they can make a decision. Yeah. So it's not like the social conscious where you're going to spend maybe a week, 2 weeks, 6 months guiding them. You just got to keep them from seeing all the shiny objects in the room and keep them focused on making that decision.
Right.
So you just got to put up with it long enough.
Yeah, put up with it long enough. But you still have to reel them in, because I think some of the issues that I ran into is going on appointments, and you think you got this person all set, and then they're like, oh man, I forgot. I got to be at work in like 10 minutes. Got to go. And you're like, I just wasted all this time.
I just sat and listened to about your cats and your dogs, and wow.
And then guess what? When you get ready to call them back, this person, they may remember you but they talk to so many people. They're like, oh yeah, right. I forgot about that. We'll get back to it, right? And you end up losing all the rapport that you built and all that you thought you built, but you realize that they were doing all talking about just their life,
Yep.
right? So you end up, not getting a deal. But I think with that social conscious person, they will make a decision. Like Andy said, you got to get them away from all the shiny objects, get them back into the conversation. What did I say? Social?
Conscious.
Yes, the social person. Get them back in to you, and that way that they can make that decision from there.
All right, now we've got the last one is my Achilles heel. This
Nemesis.
one is, it's my nemesis right here. Right. The analytical.
Yeah.
Not very good at closing the analytical. Mm-hmm. I am probably batting 20% at best. Maybe 5 to 10 analytical people in 6 years.
Right.
So, I suck at closing analytical.
So let's talk about who that is and why that is.
Well, we know I'm a driver. Mm-hmm. An analytical person they're going to be logical in everything. They're going to be very rigid, fixed timelines. I'm going to be there at 2:00 on Thursday. You call, schedule the
appointment.
The appointment. You're there on time. It's only going to be a 45-minute appointment. They're the ones that have the warranties. Mm-hmm. Like you walk in and they've got the plans to the house, the warranties. Right. They know exactly the date when they replaced everything, who did it. What that process was like, etc. It's the guy that knows that he's got the 30-pound felt underneath the shingles. Mm-hmm. That's an analytical person.
Right.
And they will make a decision. They're just incredibly slow.
Yeah.
Incredibly slow.
I think this person, sometimes most of the time you can't expect to walk away with the contract that day. Right.
No, because they want to have their attorney review it. They like it. They want it in writing every time. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, I'm not giving you a contract unless you're ready to sign it. Well, I need to have my attorney review it. No. Then we go in this endless back and forth, and I never end up getting the contract. I'm telling you. Yeah. As an analytical person, send it to somebody else.
Yeah, and we even went back and forth on that with an analytical person with the contract, because we were looking at we typically have a 1-page contract mm-hmm. or a 2-page contract versus the state contract. And we saw that, okay, maybe we should just use the state contract with that person because because they will want to send it to and they will go to an attorney.
Yeah, they will. I've got one in an attorney right now.
Yeah. The rest of them will bluff. Right? Yep. They'll say, I'll let my attorney see it. And you're like,
my attorney, Bubba.
You really have an attorney?
It's just his brother-in-law or something.
Yeah, then they hang up the phone or they just sign. Well, I'll just run it past him later. Let's get this thing
done. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But and the other challenge for me, just specifically, is your emotional brain makes the decisions. Your logical brain cannot. Right. So they have a tendency to want to hear the facts and the numbers, et cetera. It needs to make sense to them, mm-hmm. and that's okay. It does need to make sense for everybody, but they use that logical brain first, not the emotional side. So if y'all don't know, if you haven't heard us say, if we've never heard it, you cannot make a decision using your logical brain. It is impossible for you to make a decision. Every decision that you make, from brushing your teeth to when to go to bed, is emotional.
Right.
There may be supporting logic, but for an analytical person, it's almost like it's switched. So if you start communicating with them in the way that they want you to, you're working against yourself.
Right.
Or you're not necessarily working against yourself, but you're definitely not helping yourself get there, because they cannot make a decision using that logical brain.
Right.
If you're analytical, I don't like you. I struggle with you.
Right.
But it's interesting because they're the easiest to follow up with. Mm-hmm. Now let's switch. You ready to switch over to mm-hmm. follow up? Okay. Because this is where you guys are really going to get the hacks for how to use this stuff. You need to be able to recognize who you're talking to. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to communicate in the way that they want to, whether it's be direct or be patient. A driver, you're not going to tee up for 30 seconds what you're about to say.
Yeah.
You're going to just say it, right? Social conscious. Social, you're not going to be able to get a word in edgewise. Yeah. Social conscious, maybe.
They may be a little reserved.
Maybe, right? Yeah. But the cool piece is the follow-up. And for those that don't know, the most important piece of follow-up is that continued value. If you haven't listened to the John Martinez episode, go ahead and go back and play that. Mm-hmm. He says that in follow-up, the reason why you're being ghosted, the reason why people are frustrated with you, is you're not adding value to their lives. Mm-hmm. So either you don't have that personal relationship, that personal edge, or actual value that you're bringing to them. Like, hey, I'll give you an example. if I'm following up an analytical person, I'm going to give them a specific date and time. I'm going to call you next Thursday at 3:00.
Right.
Now, whether or not they remember this appointment that we've set, I'm going to set up an appointment. And then when I call them Thursday at 3:00 on the dot, maybe 5 minutes early.
Yeah.
Hey, John, I'm a little early for our 3:00 call. Is that okay? Yeah. John's probably forgot we got a 3:00 call.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because I just reminded him that we had this 3:00 call. As soon as he remembers, he's like, he really appreciates me remembering him.
Right.
None of the other are like that. Like, yeah. But if you set up this appointment with an analytical person, they appreciate it, even if they forgot.
Right.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And the driver is going to be easy. You ain't going to have to worry about follow-up.
You're done.
You're either going to get it or you're not.
Yeah.
It's just as simple as that. That's probably
there may be a valid objection in there that requires some time.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm waiting on probate to close.
Yeah, it could be something like that, right?
But other than that,
if there is no excuse like that, like valid excuse, you're going to know when you leave the appointment, like the driver is not going to like leave you. They're going to be like, hey, guy, I got to tell you, I like you, but you ain't buying this house, right?
Or I'm just not going to answer.
Right. It's going to be like, you're going to know. Like, you're going to know. Like, you're not. So, for a follow-up with that person.
You know how you know we ain't dating no more?
Right.
I quit answering.
Yeah. So, the driver, if you don't get it on that first one, then your follow-up.
Oh, you're done.
You're pretty much done.
You're
done.
Say
analytical, like we said, the analytical, that's where you're going to need some follow-up. And then as you go into your social person, right? You
got a hack number 2 for social. Now we're talking follow-up.
Right.
You don't need to follow up a driver.
No.
Social, you need to plan your day around it.
Yes.
So when you're going to the grocery store, that's when you call your social person. Yeah. Like literally like
cake mix conversation is what I call it. So cake mix conversation. So when you're calling that social person, it needs to feel like you're like in the kitchen, you're baking a cake or something, and you're talking to the person at the same time, because that's how that person's getting ready to talk to you. So I think I like how you were going there. It's like you're going somewhere, call them.
Yeah, like you have 45 minutes to call. I'm not doing anything for the next 45 minutes. I'm just gonna be walking around the grocery store. That's when I'm gonna call that person. I'm not gonna call them when I'm sitting in front of my desk ready to go.
You're going to waste the rest of your day on all your phone calls.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Exactly. So you'll kill your time in front of your desk, and then you got to go to the store, and you got nobody to talk to, because everybody else, you're going to be on a 5-minute call, 10-minute, 15-minute call. Social, you might be 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that 2 hours, it sucks sometimes. I mean, usually you can relate to people and have good conversations, but hopefully, if not, closing a social is painful.
Yeah, and I think even when you come in on your conversation, the different personality traits, like someone that's analytical, you're going to be calling with more of a professional tone.
Absolutely, 100%.
The social person, you're, hey, so-and-so, right? You're going to be very laid back, right, when you're talking to that person. And then when you get into the social conscious person, you're going to be very soft when you come in and talk to that person, right? They got to love you and trust you.
I love about the social conscious. So my 2 favorites are driver and social conscious. Social, I'm a driver, so it can get annoying unless the person's really interesting or talking about something that interests me.
Right.
But social conscious is, I was just thinking about you. Something that old Sue that lives right down the road that still comments on my Facebook stuff from 2 years ago.
Yeah.
She we talked about puzzles. Yeah. And I probably mentioned that before on the show. Sue's stuck out for whatever reason. She's been an example for a number of things. Yeah. But, so I called her from the toy section in Target. Yeah. Hey, I'm here looking at the puzzles. I was just thinking about you. That's like music to a social conscious person's ears. She's just like, oh man, let me add you on Facebook.
Yeah. What do I sound? Yeah, that's the other thing. You start seeing that person on, like, they'll jump on social media, right?
Oh yeah. They'll add you. Yeah. They will add you in a heartbeat. So make sure your stuff is friendly. Yeah.
Definitely making sure. Nowadays for everyone, you want to make sure it's friendly.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. But so those are the 4 personality profiles. We spend an inordinate amount of time on these. And actually on the Friday calls, the sales role playing. By the way, every Friday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, we do live role playing. That's one of the first questions that's asked. What personality was the person? Right. And whoever is going as the seller, they're supposed to be intentionally trying to be a specific personality type. Right. And it really helps you grow, because it tells you how to talk to somebody.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that you just practice that, right? If you can get with someone that can help you with that, because I noticed that in the role playing, we asked that question about the seller, like what personality trait, and sometimes people can't really get it. Mm-hmm. But you and I always are like, bam, that's what it was.
Yeah, you pick up on one or two things they said.
Doesn't take much.
Like, you could just run through it. Like, hey, AC was placed 5 years ago. I still got the paperwork. What am I? Analytical person, most likely. Yeah, I mean, or like this is a sign that they're this. Mm-hmm. You know, when they're being a hard ass right out of the gate. Hello, let's say driver.
Right.
You know, find out what their backup is. I mean, like, I don't know. For you, you're definitely social conscious with the other two, and then driver down at the bottom.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'd say that I'm driver social conscious. Yeah. So you just got to figure out who you're talking to. I mean, it's really, really pretty simple. Yeah, I mean, don't make it complicated, right?
You don't make it complicated. But I think that if you're not studying this, then you're never going to move to the next level of sales.
I would agree.
And then your closing is going to suffer because of it. Because you're going to be, again, we talked about you're just going to be transactional. You're going to get to a certain percentage. We looked at it when we're going to appointments, is that you're going to get those laydowns. You're going to get to that 20% closing, right? But if you want to get to 25, 30, and 35% closing, these are the kind of things you got to add into your arsenal. If not, then your closing is going to suffer from it, right?
Yeah, if you only close one type of person, you're missing out on 75% of people, like I said. Yeah.
And we've had somebody challenge that before, like, hey, I just want one type of person. Well, you're going to, marketing, if you got a cheap version of some cheap marketing you're doing, then maybe
then you can pick that one person.
Yeah, then you can just, but if you want to give away the lead, we take it and give it to somebody that can close it if that's the case.
Yeah.
But yeah.
People are complicated, though. I don't know where I was going with that. I was going to say that my avatar is like old women. I'm betting 1,000 on old women. Old women love me.
That is yours.
Uh-huh.
And I think because you go in, most of them are going to have that, they're going to be some analytical because they know a little bit about the house, but I think they just want to talk to people at the same time. They're going to be the bottom three. Most of them are, you've had some that have been drivers also.
Mm-hmm. I just flirt with them.
Yeah.
Just smile at them.
I think you go for the grandson thing there. You're like
hey, are you adopting?
You're like everybody's grandson.
Yeah.
So it works out perfectly. As a matter of fact, we even looked at one time, it's like, can we just, any lead.
Can we just market old people?
Yeah, any lead that comes in like that, let's get them to Andy, let's get it closed, or at least let him get on the phone as like a TO turnover and talk to him, and he can probably go over there and then get the deal closed.
Yeah, I forgot about the TO.
Yeah.
That worked wonders for a while.
Yeah, it did. That was actually pretty good for a while.
And then we did something where it just quit working altogether.
Well, we quit going to appointments. It was only we were going.
No, but before that we quit. We digress though. Yeah, we'll talk about the TOs. Actually, it's in another episode.
Yeah, go back.
It worked. It works great. Yeah. And then it just stopped.
Yeah, take a look at the episodes. I do know that when we did it, we were going to appointments, and then you would call and why they were at the appointment, and then do the TO. So it may have stopped when we were doing it at that point. But go back, check out the other episodes. If you're going to appointments, it is a good thing to do. You can actually, if you listen to it, we talk about how to do it. If you're a solopreneur and you don't have anybody to call, there's still a way to make it happen. So check out that episode when we talk about turnovers. Cool. And other thing I have, again, we need your help, right? In order to rank well on iTunes and Spotify and all that good stuff, we need you to not only hit the like button, but also leave us a comment, all right? Comments go a long ways, right? We want to hear nothing but good stuff.
We're needy today, aren't we?
Yeah. But, hey, you know what I've heard? If you don't ask for it, then you're not going to get it, right?
Very true.
So, again, I'm asking for it one more time. Hit the like button. Leave a comment. Tell us what you want to hear about. We appreciate everyone for listening. With that said, y'all come back now. You hear?